Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this Williams Grand Prix without you. Where have you been? Some of you have been here, but we're about halfway through it. So we did a video where we kind of just showed the condition it was in and tried to fix it by just fixing one little thing. That didn't work. Then we did another video where we worked on the playfield and repainted part of it. That worked pretty good. I'm not even going to tell you where. That worked out pretty good. But now we need to actually fix the thing. So we're going to go through and see what we can do. I think I'll try to start it just so you can see what it's doing now. And then at the end we'll see if it's any better. Right? But we're systematically going through it. Now typically I'll do it kind of in order, but this time we did it a little bit out of order just because of some timing issues and stuff. But we've been trying to see what the customer would see from their point of view. So whenever I buy one and I work on it, I just work right through it, and I don't even really test them. A lot of times I won't even plug them in, or I won't even try to play a game, because I'm going to go through and clean all of the relays and the stepper units and all that anyway, right? But a customer probably wouldn't really do that. They'd probably buy this somewhere and then try to play it, and it wouldn't work, and then they'd call us and say it's broke. So we've been trying to kind of see how they would see it and present it in the video to see if, to see how the repair goes. So here's where we're at. Let's see if we can start it. Okay, so it reset everything, and then it scored 1,000 points. Kicked the ball out. I don't have the flippers in there, so I can't actually flip it. But it's scoring. And then when the ball drains out, you're stuck. Now the flippers would still work if I had them hooked up, and it can still score, but it just sits like that. So that's what the customer would have saw whenever they plugged it up and tried to play it. This one belongs to a customer. They brought it to us to repair. So that's where we're at. So it's kind of working, but not all the way. So last time we were messing with a little switch on the bottom of the playfield on the bonus unit. I thought we got that fixed. Maybe we didn't get it bent enough or whatever. But we looked at the schematics a little bit, and it seems like that at the end of the ball, it should make the bonus unit count down, and then that ultimately is what kicks the ball back out. So we've probably still got a problem there or whatever, but that's where we're at right now. But what we're going to do first is we're going to work through that bottom board and get all of that cleaned up. So let me turn it off, and I'm going to lift the playfield up out of it, and we'll look at that mechanism board on the bottom. All right, so here's the bottom. It's actually very clean, all things considered. Very cool. And the customer had a couple flipper bats in the bottom here, a couple flipper pawls and plungers, and then they have 3 of the coil things for the chime box, the sleeves. If you look at this chime box too, look at all these shavings all over the place. That's because this thing's just eating these chimes up. You see these little, see all the wear there? So they've been working on this, but it looks like at some point it's been, the chimes, the aluminum chimes have been slapping the steel bar of the frame and just eating it up, and that's what all those shavings are. So we'll mess with that a little bit. But the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to pull this board up out of here so we can get to it a little bit better and work on it and then put it back. So to do that, you can take it loose. There is a big old bolt right there. I guess it's actually a screw. And then there's another one there. So if you take those out, you can lift this thing all the way up out of here. We kind of need to unplug some things first, though. And I'll probably have to take that chime box out. So let me unplug a couple things, and we'll pop that up and put it up here where we can look at it a little better. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, so we got it up out of there, and then I vacuumed out the cabinet. It's pretty clean, actually. There's a 70 down there. I don't know what that stands for. Did we look at the serial number yet? Maybe that is the serial number. I don't see one. Oh, here we go. 297. It's seen better days, people. Maybe there's one on the back. Up, 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 up. I don't see one anywhere. Oh well. But there's a 70 written in the bottom underneath this mech board. I found 2 quarters, one from 1992 and one from 1995. But, you know, people make a big deal out of that. I don't think that necessarily means what people think it means. Those could have been put down there any time between 1992 and right now. I pulled out the chime unit, and it looks like the customer has probably rebuilt this already, because it has new felt washers in there. So there's probably not much to do there. I'll bet they already, except clean it up, I bet they already rebuilt that. I can't remember from our previous video how it sounded. Was it just now working whenever we were playing it? I can't remember. I'll have to go back and watch the videos. And then there were a bunch of little labels and stuff down there. These fall off all the time. Like this one, for instance. Would be over there. So this originally would have been right there. And because they're attaching them to metal, the glue dries out and they pop off. So you could go back and glue them all back in place. I might do some of that. That might be a new thing I start doing. Glue them back on. Okay, so why are we doing all this? It's because instead of just trying to find the one little part that's not working right, we're trying to service everything so that it'll be reliable for these folks once they get it back home. So we're going to go through it systematically and work on every little thing in it and try to get it where it's going to work every time. I found something down in the bottom that scares me a little bit. This. So this is some kind of little metal cam with a blade on it that's riveted on, and then it has a round spot there where something was sitting on top of it. Okay, if you look at these, it looks a lot like these. See these little white spacers? It kind of looks like something was sitting on there, and then as the cam turns around, this little thing goes up or down, and this blade pushes up a stack of switches or something. But it doesn't look like the ones on here are... Yeah, see, look. There's one that's just like it. That one on the end there. Right? So this could be... It broke off one of these, but it looks like all of these are on there, so I don't know. Maybe we'll find it on the bottom of the playfield. It was laying right here. Okay, so as we go along, we'll see if we can figure out where that originally went. It looks as if the blade has broken. So it would have been a longer blade, you know, this long or so, with this riveted at the bottom of it so that it could ride on some kind of cam. Okay. So we'll watch for that. If we find where that goes, we'll put it back. So we kind of do it systematically. So the power comes in from the wall, goes to the transformer, goes through the fuses. The fuse blocks that are like this usually are pretty reliable. Okay, but we're going to check to make sure they have the right value fuses. By the way, everything's unplugged right now, so I don't get electro killed. And then we're going to clean every one of these switches. I have a little file that I do it with that's really light, right? You don't want to use like a crazy file and screw up all your contacts, but a very You can get a contact burnisher, which is like a little file, basically, that's not super aggressive. You just don't want to eat through your contacts. You just want to clean the contacts, right? So you're just trying to get the dirt and stuff off of them and not tear up the face of the contacts so that it still is nice and smooth, so that whenever the two contacts mate together, they make a good connection. So we do this on every video pretty much. There are only 3 types of switches. And so when we go through, we're going to be seeing if any of them are way out of whack. So look at this relay. See this switch, and this switch. Now you notice each one has a long blade and a short blade. But if you notice, this one's closer than this one. See how that one's just adjusted where the contacts are closer than this one? So when this pulls in, this electrifies and pulls this little plate in. Look at this one on the end here. See, that almost immediately makes contact because they're closer, right? And then look at this one. It travels farther, but it still makes contact. So you may be tempted to adjust that one. See how it's barely moving, right? So you may be tempted to say, oh, that should be a little closer. There's a little tool that you're supposed to use for this. You might say, oh, that one needs to be a little closer, and so you adjust it, right? So now it's a little closer, and it almost immediately touches like the other one. Don't do that. If they're obviously not touching, then adjust it. But if it's something like that where it's just a little minor thing, leave it alone. It probably wants to be like that. Just leave it alone. If you go through and try to get every one of them exactly the same, you'll screw up half of them and not even realize it. And I'm not saying this because you don't know what you're doing. I don't do that. Like, I don't go through and adjust every little switch because it's going to cause lots of problems, right? So just leave them alone. So you want to clean them. And then if they look like they're touching, if you can see that blade move whenever you push it in, then you're good. Another thing, don't push it in up here, because you see how you can bend it too far? That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is this coil pulls it in right here. So you want to test it right there. That's how it actually is. Right? So there's that kind that's open, and then whenever it pulls in, it closes. And then there's this type. Like, look at this middle one. There's 3 of them in a row here. That the long blade, the middle one, is closed to the left. It opens to the left and closes to the right. They call that a make-break switch, make or break. And then the last kind are the kind like this. This one's closed already, and when it pulls in, it opens. So there's some that close, there's some that open, and there's some that go back and forth. That's all you need to understand. It's as simple as that. It seems like it's so complex. I don't understand how they work. I don't know how the switches work. You don't even need to know what turns on these relays. You just need to get it where they're all opening and closing or going back and forth if it's a make or break. Theoretically, in principle, there's exceptions to everything, but theoretically, in principle, if you get them all where they're doing that, the thing will work fine. So that's where your problem will be. And when they touch, those contacts have to be clean so that electricity can pass between them. That's all you got to worry about. Okay? You'll rarely have a coil burn up on a relay. Every once in a while. Look at this one. This is our lock relay. See how it's pretty toasty? Looks like it's screwed up, but that's just because it's on the whole time that the machine's on. So it runs a little hot, and yeah, the paper gets discolored, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It may be bad, but we were just playing it, so it must not be too bad, right? And so all these over here are the same. You'll see some where it's double stacked. They're a little harder to clean. But you just basically want to go through. If you see anything that's way out of whack, yeah, you might want to adjust that. So if you look here, look at this top blade here. Do you see how that's bent up? You can kind of see it when the light hits it. It's been kind of smashed and bent up, right? So stuff like that you want to keep an eye out for. The ones on the top of this switch stack. See how that's kinked right there? That's where somebody has messed with it in the past. So these ones on the top of the switch stack are the ones that get damaged the most, because somebody will put something inside the machine, like a paperwork or something, and it's real easy to hit this and pull it up in the air and bend it, and then they have to bend it back, or they may not even bend it back, or they might jam the paperwork in there to hit something and they don't even notice that they bent it. So those are something to always look for. But we're going to go through, we're going to clean every freaking switch. So if I run into any that are really messed up, or, well, there's a problem, I'll come back and show it to you. Okay, so I cleaned through all of them. Took about 45 minutes for all of these. And I didn't see any that looked misadjusted, really. A lot of them look dirty, so hopefully they're cleaner now. But I didn't see any that needed adjusted. We've had people in the past tell us that the first thing you should do is tighten up the switch stacks. But in general, I find that they're usually pretty tight. Like, none of these are moving. So, but the theory is, if this screw came loose, that the blades would like separate or even connect more. And so it would be a waste of time to adjust them with the screws loose, because they would just flop around. But I hardly ever see that. But it's worth mentioning. So if you end up with problems, that might be it. So then I went and I did these. This is the Williams score motor, of course, which is a little bit easier to clean than the Bally one, because the Bally one is turned this way, and I think maybe the cams might be a little closer too. So it's just a little harder to get to. Now these things have like a hinge on the side, so you can put it up in the air and all that. But this one, being the way it's oriented, it's just really easy to clean the switches. So it's basically the exact same thing with the exact same type of switches. The only difference is instead of a plate pulling the switches in, the motor is turning this cam shaft, which then, as it goes along, impulses them and connects and disconnects and does this and that, all the other. Right? So, just like everything else, this stuff looks really intimidating, but it's so simple. There's nothing really to it. There's nothing to it, people. When it turns, there is a little bump on the cam, and when this little thing rides over it, it makes the switch connect. So you just want to turn it and see if it makes it connect. So see? It's obviously making it connect. So that one's working fine. So then on this one, you've got several, though, you know. So some of them might be closing, and some of them might be opening, and some may even be make or break ones, like this top one is. It's a make or break. Right? So you just need to focus on one switch at a time, and then turn it and see if you think it's working right. If it is, then move on and look at the next switch, and then just turn the thing by hand. It may even go the other way. I don't know. I think it goes this way. But you just go through and you check them all. And once you start getting into the schematics, you start realizing the genius of this thing. Look how so there are little bumps on it. And so this one over here is the home, the index one. So that's where it starts. And on a Williams, it looks like it turns around half a turn until it gets back to home, right? So in half a turn, this one will close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then that one got back to home. So this switch will close 5 times anytime the score motor starts turning. So when it starts turning, it holds itself on through a wire on itself. One of the switches opens once it gets out of the home position, and it'll turn, or closes once it gets out of the home position. Maybe it's this top one, I don't know. And then it'll continue rotating until it gets back to home. Well, if it does that, this one will hit exactly 5 times because there's 5 bumps on it. Okay. Now this one, let's see this second one. 1, but look, it's at a different place than this one. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it gets back to home. So this one does 5 as well, but it's slightly different than this one. It's offset just slightly. Right? But it's also offset because this switch is longer. See how the blade's farther out than this one? So it's a timing thing. So they may want this switch to close and then this switch to close, and that may make some scoring work or something. They call it the score motor because of that. Okay, so look at this third one here. Okay, so we're in home position. Now we're out of home position. So it's going to turn all the way around. This third one's going to stay closed. Or open, whatever it is. They may have a switch in there that's open right now that will close when it goes down in the thing, or that's closed right now that will open when it goes down in the thing. So we're going around and bam, it just went, but we're not home yet. So you go back home and this one's closed again. So it had just one little spot there where it went down. But if you look, this one, and this one are in order. Right? So if we do it again, you can see the timing of it. So let me go back to home so I can show you, because it looks like there's two more there. So we're at home. So it turns off of home, and that one closes. So if there's a switch on here, it closes almost immediately. And then it opens again. And then that one closes, and that one. Right? And then that one closes. And then that one closes. And then that one closes. So they do it at different times because they may need the switches to close sequentially to make something happen. So it's brilliant the way the things are designed. Genius, genius, genius. But I think I've got them all clean. And this one, like I said, is a little easier to clean. If you use a flat file like I was talking about, it makes it really simple. Right? No big deal. And usually you won't have any of these bent out of shape because they're pretty beefy, and except the top ones. There's exceptions to everything, but generally it's the top ones that are screwed up. So we've got all that clean. We've got all of the switches clean on the other relays. I checked the 4 fuses. They were the correct values. Whoever had this machine is really taking care of it, because it's in pretty good shape, really. And I glued the... Look, I glued the thing back on. I just used a glue stick. No big deal. So now we are on to our 2 stepper units. So this one is the, it says player up, but that's not a player up. That's the coin unit. Coin unit. And this one is the ball count unit. What's going on, Matt? Matt made it. He's here just in time to not help us.
Yep.
Oh, God. So the coin unit is the one that kind of keeps track of whether you're playing a 1-player game, a 2-player game, a 3-player game, or a 4-player game. They call it a coin unit because it's like, how many coins did you play for this game? 1-player, 2-player, 3-player, 4-player. And so I may have this wrong, but on the Bally's at least, this doesn't move except at the beginning. So whenever you first put the coins in, it moves it up. I mean, when you ever start and use a coin, it moves it up. And that's kind of like a reference point for while the rest of the game is working. This is always set on 3-player or whatever. And then this one's the ball count unit that literally counts the balls. You can get up to 5 balls, obviously. So a lot of times your problem with a game will be that these are either not making good contact because the thing is so filthy, or they don't reset properly. So if they don't reset, you end up being stuck on the same ball over and over again or something like that. So let's see if this one, let's see how it wants to behave. Okay. Ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4, ball 5, and then ball 6. Why does it have a ball 6? It's so it can move itself into game over. So it's probably set up where whenever you get to ball 6, that triggers all the game over stuff. Okay. And it seems to be working pretty good, but it's dirty, and we'll make sure that it's even better. And so this one, now if you were having problems with this one, you may get stuck on a 1-player game or a 4-player game or whatever. So if you're having problems where it's always playing the wrong number of players, it could be this. See how that's drifting backwards slightly? So right now it's on 3, I think. See how it drifts back a little bit and then goes? Sometimes you can adjust that out. So we've got those two little units to adjust. Here's the coils on the back. One of them steps it up, and one of them resets it. Okay, and so when it resets, this bar goes around and opens up these two switches. They call these zero position break switches. It breaks at the zero position. Now if we go, so we're on ball 1, we go up 1, now we're on ball 2, they should be closed. Sometimes that's tricky to tell if they actually are. But when I move the big blade, the small one is moving too, so it's probably closed. Okay, but you know, those need to be clean. And then over here, we've got the same thing. So we have stepped up to position 4. This will reset it. Okay, now this one has a slightly different switch. So when I hit the start button, and it starts a one-player game, if I hit it again, instead of hitting the reset button or whatever, it moves this up. So 2-player, 3-player, 4-player, and then this is a 4th position break switch. It opens at the 4th and final position. So why does it do that? It does that so you don't waste a quarter. So like if I hit start now, that switch is open, so the game won't start. I mean, it won't take another quarter from me because it can't move this up past position 4 because you can only play a 4-player game. So that's what keeps you from being able to press it and have a 5th-player game. They say, oh, no, 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 save your quarter. So it's a rare example of a design feature intended to help you not lose money. But basically, we just need to get those clean. Now, these are metal instead of the Bally ones, which were usually nylon. So this is metal going through a metal bushing, so you can actually oil these or grease them, whatever you prefer to do. What I usually do, if you try to pull them out, you have to take all these springs loose. So what I usually do is I'll pull it a little bit, and you get a little bit of play, and just drop a drop in there, and then kind of push it back in, so it gets an oil or something inside the bearing. But these particular ones don't even really need it because they're working just fine right now. But we'll check it out. You can see too where someone has put a little arrow on here to kind of help with when they put it back so that they don't put it in the wrong place. Usually you can tell by how it's on there. Like for instance, this one has the 3 arms, right? Well, if you put it on, it'll only go 2 ways. If you put it on upside down, you would have where the arms were down here where nothing's hooked up, right? So this one's up here where there's wires, this one connects over here where there's wires, and this one connects over here where there's wires. So you can kind of tell that's how it's supposed to be. And on this one you have this long finger here, which must hit these, you know. You could reverse it, and then it would be down here, and it wouldn't be hitting anything. So usually you can kind of tell by messing with it. So I'll pop that off and I'm going to clean the face of this with a little bit of sandpaper. We actually, you know what? We've got this new thing I'll show you. We've got a knife cleaner that somebody sent us. But I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Somebody's already done it. But I'm going to clean it up a little bit and then put a little bit of synthetic grease on it just to help the fingers travel and have a little bit of lubrication because it's metal on metal. So if you have metal on metal, you want to lubricate it. Metal shaft on a metal bearing, you want to lubricate it. If it's nylon on metal, you don't need to lubricate it because the nylon is self-lubricated or doesn't need it or whatever. So let me pop that off and clean it, and I'll do the same with this, and I'll show you what we use to clean it with. Okay, folks, so there's how it looks. Here's what we've been using. Somebody sent us these. These are little sharpeners, not sharpeners, knife cleaners for rusty knives. And it has text on it that I think is Japanese, so I don't even know what they're called. But I'm trying to yell attention-getting things in my videos to wake people up. But I figured out what they were, and I put a link on my website. So go check it out, lionsarcade.com. Go to the parts page. They work great. They're just like sandpaper though, but they're really light. So like you can like clean up stuff like this. All right, something like that there. Look at that. Look how nice. Looks perfect until it starts oxidizing again here in 3 minutes. But they work really good. Let's go check it out. So after you clean it, I already did this one. So after you clean it, we use a little synthetic grease. This stuff's great. We also have this on our website. Go check it out. If you buy anything on Amazon, Matt, you've been buying things on Amazon, right?
Once.
Yeah, okay. So if you're buying anything on Amazon, what did you buy when you bought something on Amazon?
I bought the...
Wait a minute. Is this clean for public consumption?
The thread crimping tool.
Oh, okay. It's a thread crimp. I thought he was going to talk about that other thing you bought. Oh, whew, man. You scared me there for a minute, Matt. Wow, we're live, buddy. I mean, you got to really watch what you're doing here.
I have a fake account for that stuff.
Woo! Okay. He bought a thread crimping tool. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, if you follow one of our links to Amazon first, it gives us 3% of whatever you bought. Pretty much. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. But so Matt's thread crimping tool, I made damn near 25 cents off of that. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
You're the man. So we're going to clean it up, put some grease on it, and then put the thing back on, and that will help it move a little better. So this one we've already done. Another thing to think about, whenever you're testing it and you're trying to imitate the game as it plays, it doesn't move. None of the relays move slow. They're either on or off, so they move real quick. So it doesn't move like that. It moves like that. Very violent. You got to be violent. All right, so I'm going to finish cleaning that up and put the dielectric grease on it, and we'll go from there. All right, so both of those cleaned up. They seem to be moving perfectly. Cleaned the switches on the back. Have cleaned all these. The fuses are right. Cleaned all this. There's nothing left, people. Plus we vacuumed it, right? There's nothing left, so we're going to put it right back down where it goes. We've got the cabinet clean under it. So we'll install it back where it goes, and then we need to clean some of the Jones plugs. So these little plugs, you can actually clean with that same little stone thing or sandpaper. These are jumpers for pricing and stuff. But your chimes plug in here, and the coin door plugs in here. All right, folks. So I cleaned up the chimes a little bit and put them back in there. Someone, like I showed you, has already worked on them. It's probably the customer, and I believe they're going to sound all right, but they just had metal shavings all over them. So I went ahead and cleaned that up a little bit. So I wanted to show you something else. I also cleaned the Jones plugs on the playfield and then plugged it back in. But if you look, see how the cable from the playfield is hanging down? If you leave it like that, what'll happen is it'll hang down on top of a relay and not allow the relay to work right. So you got to be careful of that whenever you're moving it in and out. You need to just put it somewhere where it's not touching relays. There's a little hook on the very back that you can hook it through, but it's just something to think about whenever you're putting the playfield back down. So we're going to put it back down and then see if it plays any different than it did before. All right, so I put the playfield back down, turned it on. Let's try starting it, see if it'll still even do what it did before. Okay, so the one seems to be shining brighter, and it does say one player can play, and it says ball in play number 1. We're at 10,000 points, that's probably not right. Our lights are trying to come back. Oh. Look, it scored that bonus. Holy moly! Holy moly! We might be on ball 2, but it doesn't say. And now we're stuck. But if you notice, this wasn't scoring. Oh, it is. The score reel just doesn't make any noise. Alright, so it kind of is working, kind of like it was. So we lost the ball, but it didn't reset at that time, but the other time it did. So, it's a little farther along. We do kind of halfway have the back glass lights back. So, oh, you know what we need to do? There is one of our viewers, it's spelled Catalan. I thought it was Caitlin, but it's Catalan, who watches all of our videos, and they love it when we say, let's turn out the lights. So Catalan, or Caitlin, whichever it is, let's turn out the lights so we can see it with the lights out. Alright, that's just for you. That's what it looks like with the lights out. Okay, so we did the board on the bottom. We messed with the chimes a little bit. The one that's not working with the chime, that's probably not an actual problem with the chime. It's probably the score reels in the back. The score relay in the back, the point relay in the back. The lights blinking on and off, that's probably not the what we just messed with, the playfield. That's likely some of the connections in the back, so we'll mess with that too. But that's what's coming up next, so I think we are getting there. So hopefully most of the stuff, at least on the bottom panel, is fine. We need to do under the playfield, and we need to do the back box. So I think we'll do the back box next. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. We didn't have to do that, but yet we did anyway. We wanted to take you along for the ride, folks. So I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to check out my brother Donnie. If you don't know about that, it's literally my brother here on YouTube. He and I have bought a couple small buildings near here, in a small town near here, and we're fixing them up to help revitalize downtown and filming it. So go check that out if you haven't already. So I'll see you over there, but I'll see you back tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, the next day. It'll be real soon with the next video on this Grand Prix. It's getting there. And boy, don't she look great.